Welcome back to the newspaper review. If you are just joining us, we have looked at the Punch newspaper, the Guardian, and the Vanguard. Now we're joined via telephone by our guests this morning. Thanks for joining us, Emeka Nwatu, on the newspaper review this morning.
Thank you, Esther. Thank you, Nigerians.
All right,
Thanks
let's
for
move
having me.
to... You're welcome. Let's move to the story that has to do with Justice Odili's home. 14 suspects right now, and according to the writers on the Guardian newspaper, they have various job titles here, and it looks like there is more to what we have. And I mean, we have that there was a journalist, a lawyer, a police officer, soldier amongst these 14 alleged invaders. How do you see these particular reports?
Okay, so, the issue as to the invasion to the House of the Supreme Court Justice is very, very unfortunate. We know that this is not the first time it is happening in Nigeria, but we have always condemned it severely. Well, quickly, I would say that our laws are very clear as to how a search should be conducted, on any Nigerian, not to even talk about someone of such great caliber. We have a situation where the law says that you have to conduct a search between the hours of 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. and how a search can be procured, how you procure a search warrant. Okay. And it has to be an officer who is of at least the level of assistant superintendent of police and ASP, and that for a woman, it requires that a fellow woman should conduct the search, and okay. Not how we have several men, in the process. So the whole system, the whole activities that played out is very illegitimate, okay. Because it did not comply with our laws. Anybody can be searched, but you have to comply with our laws. You have to follow due process. You have to go to the court. You have to procure it as it were. So in the news, those people that have been arraigned, I can see a lot of them have been making their confessional statements as to what was found and the items that were recovered, that they were they were asset recovery team, supposedly of the Attorney General of the Federation, and all of those confessions that were made. And it shouldn't end that way. Those people, we need to nip this on the board, once and for all, yeah. Because we cannot continue to have people violate the privacy and rights of Supreme Court justices, because that is the conscience of Nigerians. That is the heartbeat of the common man. So okay. If they can be violated in that way, I don't know what is the fate of we commoners. So it is very, very, very unfortunate. It is pervasive, and we need to condemn it. And everybody who is indicted should be brought to the book, if not for all of the ultimatum coming from areas that my Lord Justice is from. Yeah. You may not even have this kind of action that is played out. So all right. It is condemnable.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. But that I'd like to ask, well, if you think that, since you mentioned that this is not the first time and that it should be nipped in the bud, do you think this is something that can be finally erased? I mean, from the news, is this something that can never ever occur again? Because it looks like this is not the first time. This is not the only time. Do you think it can be stopped totally?
Yes, yes, it can be stopped. The structure of our judiciary in Nigeria does not give autonomy to the judiciary. When you have a situation where the executive, who is headed by the president, controls everything about the judiciary, we'll continue to have this kind of system. So we've always canvassed, that there should be a clear separation of powers that will not be under the whips and caprices of an arm of government. For crying out loud, The judiciary is an arm of government on its own. They should be able to cater for their administration, cater for their staff, cater for all of their existence.
Okay.
Not relying on the cover of another arm of government. So if we do that moving forward out of the restructuring,
Yeah.
we would see this to an end.
All right, let's move to politics now. Looking at the latest election we had in Nigeria on the 6th of November, the Anambra gubernatorial election. The Independent National Electoral Commission declared Professor Charles Soludo as the winner. And Andy Uba has come up this morning to say that, that he's rejecting the results, but Soludo is getting certificate of return today. So how have you seen the electoral process, even from the Saturday to the Tuesday rerun, and then till today that we have Andy Uba's statements in the news?
Okay, let me start by congratulating the winner in that election, Mr. Charles Chukwuma Soludo. However, build up to that election, there were red flags and there were some kind of palpable fears as to whether or not the elections will be held. But we went on to conduct the election with the confidence that INEC has given to us, that agitators and maybe IPOP and other people have been able to withdraw their seat at home order, as it were. However, this election, this current Anambra election, plays out to be the lowest, turnout as we've had in the history of elections, in that part of the region.
Yeah, but I would have to butt in here. Talking about the turnout, really, we're talking about 19 local governments out of 21 local governments, and one person won 19. So even from the turnouts, they are still all going to come out from these local governments. Do you think that is where maybe the matter should be looked from? Because Andy Uba is saying that is claiming electoral fraud here, and you mentioned some red flags. So I'd like to ask first the red flags rather, and then the turnouts.
Well, he shouldn't claim electoral fraud, as it were, because if you look at the process that produced him, the primary process that produced him, he had 300,000 votes at the primaries and couldn't even make up to 50,000 votes on the general election, as it were. So the election has been held. There is no perfect election. We might have a few setbacks, but that we have a substantial compliance in this process. The winner has made over 25% of the vote, which has complied with what the electoral regime has to say. So anybody who wants to go to court on the basis of some votes that we are counted on duress or voter suppression, or so all of that is irrelevant now, because we have a clear-cut winner. I mean, even the EHALA votes already is a deciding factor.
Okay.
If he really had the clout that he had during the primaries for his party, he would have put that kind of clout for the EHALA vote, because at that point, during that rerun, it was a deciding factor to really tilt any of the direction to all the leading contenders. So,
okay, now that we have established the results, especially from the rerun at Ihiala, let's talk about the red flags that you feel may have been something that would result to having this kind of claims in the first place. What red flags did you observe during the election?
There were red flags built up to the elections.
Okay.
First of all, we discouraged INEC from going ahead with that election, because they still had sufficient time to conduct the election. So when they said people should not come out. So that in itself is voter apathy that is building up.
How do you mean by we discouraged and that people should not come out? How do you mean?
Because at the mood of the state,
Okay.
the mood of the state didn't support an election to hold at that material time. However, they have 30 days to the swearing of the new governor. That's by sometime next year to conduct the election. And now let's even look at the election itself. We have a situation where security officers looked the other way, where when we have issues as to vote trading, vote buying, and all of those issues that played out. So
we're going to stick with the reports. We're going to stick with the reports that we have,
Okay.
Yes, we're going to stick with the reports that we have so far, especially because of, how it is with people giving reports according to how it is in their own place and maybe not according to the total facts that we have. But I'd like to mention that one of the issues that INEC has always had in various elections is the matter of logistics, which has to do with moving materials from one point to another. Is this enough reason why this matter should go back to court? Is this enough reason why Andy Uba should have, this matter back in court and claiming that, the winner isn't Charles Soludo?
The issue of logistics has been the usual pattern. Normally, INEC usually collaborates with the road transport union workers, agencies to be able to move materials and men and personnel to various points for the election. So it is not something that we are just alien to. This is something that we know, and INEC has given Nigerians the confidence that election would go ahead, and they went on with the election. So we have also said that we should have a separate commission for logistics for INEC, just the way we have also canvassed for electoral offenses commission and all of that, because we shouldn't be having a situation whereby INEC, we should be concentrating solely as to electioneering, would also be interested with issues as to transport and logistics. That shouldn't be their objective or part of their duties. So that should also be catered for. Let us have an independent logistic agency that would, because the elections is all about the will of the people. It's democracy, and it is something that should be very sacred. Not something that we should take for granted, because like we have, if we enthrone leaders that does not reflect the conscience of the people, we would have several resistance and issues with governance. So logistics is very important, and we should consider it moving forward.
Okay, very quickly, let's move to some business matters here. You already know that Nigeria has been known over the years as Africa's oil producer. Libya has taken over, according to the reports we have this morning. Libya overtakes Nigeria as Africa's biggest oil producer. Do you find that particular headline comfortable?
Well, it is not something that we should be celebrating about. Before now, we are already seeing that we've not really been serious with the issues as to the oil industry, oil sector in Nigeria. So where you are unable to have refineries that is up and running, you would have situations like this, and that is why we keep shouting on NNPC and all the oil stakeholders that even the president, who is the minister for the petroleum resources, let us have our refineries up and running. And you see, currently we have the oil market booming, and then Nigeria is not tapping into that growth at that level, where you have $84 per barrel. So I believe that with comfort, with standard refineries, with standard modular refineries, with proper regulatory structure, like the unbundling of the the coming into being of the petroleum industry act, and all of this unbundling of the NMPC, we would get there.
Okay.
It is something that is gradually getting into place. We can see that already there are some parts of the country that is beginning to get oil. So with the Dangote refinery, with other refineries that will be upstream soonest, we would bounce back and we'll have a booming oil sector. But it's going to take time. But we need serious concentration. We need serious attention. We need to pay serious attention to the oil industry and other value chains, because it is not just all about the. But surely Nigeria is supposed to be the giant of the oil industry in Africa, and with all of these proper structures, I believe Nigeria would get back to its feet.
Okay, because of our time, I'll take one last headline we have here this morning and then move on. The headline says, why millions of Nigerian graduates are unemployed? But that statement is accredited to the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Education. Now, he said that the reason why millions of, graduates are unemployed is because they do not have specific skills required for the job markets. I mean, the job markets, and I'd like to ask you, how do you find this particular information coming from the federal government?
Okay, the issue as to the unemployability of Nigerians.
Yes.
It has become something on the front burner all the time. But what we can do is that we need to continue to encourage skills, because that's what would set Nigeria on that pathway. But if you have the skills and there are no enabling environment to strive, I mean, there are no jobs, there are no companies, and there are no institutions or even bodies that support startups for young people to be able to even set up their own enterprise or get jobs. So they have a whole lot of work to do before you say. Nigerians are very, very enterprising people, and Nigerians are very ambitious. Nigerians are hardworking people. Nigerian youths, so these are people that have been able to prove to the whole world that they can strive in all circumstances. So, I mean, the Ministry of Youth is not doing enough. They're not doing enough, the Ministry of Employment. Because if you look at the figures coming from the data and statistics departments, you will know that the unemployment rate continues to have an uproar because of the ineptitude, because of the attitude of persons in government.
Yeah.
So I know that we need to also we need to push more for skills acquisition in the curriculum of the university. That's also a way to go with, but it shouldn't just end there. It should be practicable.
All right.
Because we get these skills on theory and we don't come out to practicalize it. So how do we practicalize it when there are no enabling structures or environments for young people like us to be able to practicalize or put to test what we have gotten? So agencies like Smeldam, agencies like the Ministry of Employment and Employment, Ministry of Youth, and even the Directorate for Employment need to do more work, as to partnering with more private sectors so that we'll be able to integrate young people into the job markets, because we have skills and we can perform optimally.
Thank you for joining us on the newspaper review this morning. Thanks for giving us your views on the headlines.
Thank you, Nigerians.
Do have a great day ahead.
Yeah, and you too. Have a nice day.
don't believe the product is good